Welcome to the world of chess tactics. Our next step is to build you an arsenal of tactical weapons with which you can take on the savviest of opponents. During this part of the academy, you'll learn how to use your pieces in coordinated attack. We'll focus on the most fundamental tactical devices: forks, skewers, pins, removing the defender, and discovered attacks. Each theme we explore will at once make sense right away and possess countless layers of subtlety which you can unearth as you learn more and more about chess. It's important to realize that these very weapons are used by the world's greatest chess players in every game they play. Now you're speaking the language of the masters. The first component of our arsenal is called forks. We saw this weapon briefly in part 1. The fork is the most basic weapon in chess, and it's used at every level of play. You can envision it as a fork in the road, a branching of possibilities. Whenever one piece attacks two other pieces, it's a fork. As this course progresses, we'll see numerous examples of double attacks. The fork is the most basic and essential manifestation. In general, the more valuable the other two pieces, the more powerful the fork. In this position, the white knight forks the black king and queen. This is a royal fork, and the strongest of all possibilities. In general, the more valuable the other two pieces, the more powerful the fork. In this section, we're going to focus on knight forks, because this is the hardest piece to get used to. But first, let's look at some basic forks, where other pieces do the damage. In this position, white is in check, but can turn the tables on black. What is white's best move? No, that's not quite it. Try again. King e4 forks the black knight and rook, and they cannot defend each other. You see, the king can be a weapon too. In fact, towards the end of the game, we often use the king actively like this. In the beginning of a chess game, we want to defend our king, keep him safe, but when the board empties and there's less danger, he becomes a powerful piece that should be used actively. Do you see any forks for white here? You got it. Here, c4 forks the knight and rook. It's black to move here. Do you see any forks? Well done. Bishop e3 check wins the white rook. Do you see any forks for black here? Very good. Rook h5 forks the bishop and knight. This example shows how powerful a rook can be on an open board, working pieces on opposite sides. Here, white can win the black rook with a queen fork, but there are two right ways and two wrong ways. Be careful. What's white's best move? No, that's not quite it. Queen d8 check attacks both pieces, but would be a terrible mistake because the black rook could capture. Rook takes t8. One of the two right moves is queen h2 check, winning the rook. The queen is a very powerful attacker and can be devastating with long-range forks. The other fork which would win the rook is queen d5 check. This next position is similar to the last one, but with a wrinkle. Here black has one way to win the white rook, but there are three tempting but wrong tries. Take your time with this one. Find the best move. The solution is Queen A7 check. In this exercise, click on every square where the black queen can attack 2 or more white pieces without getting captured. Be careful. Now let's spend some time examining knight forks, a weapon you'll want to have at your fingertips. How can white win a piece here? Good, you can force the king and pawn and win a pawn. However, you could have won a more valuable piece. Try to find the better move. Knight c3 check, forking the king and bishop. In this exercise, click on every square where the white knight can fork 2 black pieces. Now, click on every square where a white knight could fork 2 black pieces without getting captured. In the middle game and opening, knight forks often take place on the f7 square, like in this position. Here the white knight forks the black queen and rook. One way this type of fork can arise is in an opening that I used to play when I was a kid, called the fried liver. From the beginning, I play e4, my opponents would play e5. You usually want to develop a pawn into the center of the board in the beginning. Then you want to develop a central knight. I played knight f3, attacking his e-pawn. My opponents would play knight c6, defending. And then I'd play bishop c4. Notice how I'm developing my pieces into the center of the board, and I'm preparing my king to castle into safety. My opponents would play knight f6, and now I would play the move knight g5. A lot of the time they'd play a move like d6 here. Now, what's white's best move? No, that's not quite it. Try again. Here you can play the fork that I showed you above. Knight takes f7, forks the queen, and rook. You see the bishop on c4 defends the knight, so the black king can't capture it. After knight takes f7, black should move the more valuable piece out of the attack, with queen e7. And white plays knight takes h8, and has won a rook. I can't tell you how many games I won with this trap as a 6 and 7-year-old boy. But I didn't show you this opening for you to memorize it and try to start winning chess games fast. Memorizing opening traps is the wrong way to study chess, because then we're not learning the heart of the game. The reason I showed you this opening is because I want you to see how patterns we work on with just a few pieces on the board can be repeated in much more complicated situations. So as this course goes along, just try to get a feeling for the essence of each tactical and strategical device I show you. These are the principles of chess, and they can be applied to any situation. The key is to learn the basics in a more simplified atmosphere so we can focus on what's essential.